What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where in this one, I want to talk a little bit about the defense. There's a conversation going on both in the comments of the videos and also on Twitter, different social media, different videos that I've seen where it's, hey, what do the Colts need to do to get better? Obviously, addressing the linebacker spot next to Zaire Franklin was a question mark, and we filled that spot with Jermaine Pratt. Right? Really the most ideal fit, something we talked about in the offseason that we needed to do. Ends up not happening, and we end up getting him anyways, right? The Raiders release him, and we were the beneficiary of a move that just made too much sense. So now that we have seemingly linebacker position figured out, Jalen Carlisle is going to come back at some point, but they don't need to feel any rush to get him back. Not sure what's going on there, but he's still on IR. Joe Bacci got put on IR. So there are obviously some question marks there, but now we have our starters figured out, and that should be good to go. I would assume he's probably going to start next to Zaire. There'll probably be a split of reps, but he knows his defense. He's just got to learn any of the change terminology. But with Zaire next to him, I feel he could just, call the play, let him know, what he's supposed to do, and go from there. So I feel like Jermaine Pratt probably going to be on the field the most of any of the other linebackers outside of Zaire Franklin. So when we look at the rest of the defense, right, is it edge rusher or is it secondary where we need to go and get somebody? And I think for me, at least, the answer is obvious. Right. And for me, it's going to be edge rusher, right? Getting after the quarterback. You think of the most premier positions on the football team. Of course, the quarterback, right? And then for most teams, the left tackle, but the blind side blockers, some teams have lefties. So they're more worried about their right tackle, but nonetheless, the tackle position in the NFL, a premier position, one of the top. And then, of course, you look over at the defensive side at the edge rushers, getting after the quarterback because the quarterback is the most important. You can get guys that can get after the quarterback, that can get in his face, continue to hit him, be able to get sacks in a game. Like, that's incredibly important, right? Getting a sack is almost like a team getting a penalty, right? And when teams get penalties, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, if you get, a false start or if you get a holding call on first down, that's going to put you behind. And a lot of times you're going to end up either punting or kicking a field goal, right? It happened for the Colts over the first couple weeks, right? Getting into the red zone, even though we were still scoring, we were putting up field goals because of holding calls. All right, so it happens to everybody, even the best offenses in the league. So for me, if you can go get an edge rusher, to me, that makes the most sense. Now, why is it the edge rusher? I think is a question people are going to be asking. Well, it's because when you look at the defense, even though we have a litany of injuries, right? We have Daniel Scott put on the IR, Hunter Wohler put on the IR. Of course, those guys are safeties, but it factors into it. Jalen Jones still on the IR. Justin Wally, who was supposed to be cornerback 2, was doing really good in training camp, and he was the clear cut going to be number 2 corner. Looked like he was going to be shut down on the other side of Charvarius Ward, who's been shut down. So overall, we lost out on a guy in training camp, and then we lose out on Jalen Jones. He comes back, and then he's still not even starting. He's on special teams at that point. And with all these guys out, right, that makes it tough. Even when Jalen Jones comes back, a lot of people thinking he's probably not going to be the starter anyways, which is interesting. But then you also have Kenny Moore, and when we went and got the best replacement we could possibly find for him, Mike Hilton now ends up on IR. So we have all these guys on IR, but of the corners on IR and that are injured right now, there's only one of them that we're not getting back this season. That's Justin Wally, right? So when I'm looking at everything else, we're getting everybody else back, right? So the cornerback room, you don't need, in my opinion, you don't need to go out and make a deal for somebody to come into a secondary. We just have to be patient, right? Because I think even when Jalen Jones comes back, I think there's a good chance that we're still going to end up seeing Mekhi Blackman get those starting reps as cornerback 2. We're still going to see Jonathan Edwards taking snaps as the dime secondary guy, right? Coming into the season, thought that was going to be Hunter Woller's position. It's Jonathan Edwards, and he's doing a good job on the field. And so I think for the Colts already made a trade for a cornerback. I think they want to put him on the field, right? This is a guy who was a third-round pick, right? Of course, had to miss time with an injury. And because the Vikings have their guys, right? They have, I believe, Byron Murphy, and they also have former Colt Isaiah Rodgers, who's doing an incredible job, one of the best corners in the league this year. They felt okay getting rid of Mekhi Blackmon. We are the beneficiary of that. And I think Mekhi Blackmon just needs to continue to get reps in the defense, needs to continue to get reps as a young player. But he's on the other side of Charvarius Ward. He's in the same room as Charvarius Ward and Kenny Moore, guys that have plenty of experience in the NFL, guys that can continue to give him pointers when he's doing something wrong. They're in the same room, right? So when they're watching tape, not only do we have great coaches, right? You're talking about Lou Anarumo spent time as a secondaries coach, right? And of course, as defensive coordinator, he brought in some really experienced coaches to help with the secondary. So I think between coaching, between the players we have, the secondary is in a tough spot right now. It's starting to get really thin, but when we get past the bye week and our schedule gets the hardest it's going to be, we're going to have most of these guys back, right? Pretty much everybody that's on IR right now, we should have back by the time the bye week's done with, right? And hopefully we were able to get Kenny back before the bye week. Sounds like we're probably going to get him back at some point before the bye week. Interested to see if that happens or not with the Achilles and the calf. By all means, take your time. Make sure Kenny's fine. I thought Chris Lamont stepped in and did a good job. So hopefully he can continue to do that. I think what he's being asked to do in this defense as opposed to Gus Bradley's defense seems to be more of a comfortability for him. And seems to work out better for him. We'll see if that continues. But Chris Lamont stepping into that slot position worked out for 1 week. Let's see if it works out for another. But overall, in terms of season-long effect, I think we're okay at corner. Right, again, Mekhi Blackmon, we already made a trade for a corner. I think they want to stick with that. And so if anything happens in terms of a trade, I think it's going to be for the edge. And I think for me, that conversation, it's set in stone for me because the guys that we have in the cornerback room, you have an undrafted rookie free agent, Jonathan Edwards, that can come in and perform pretty well. He's done a good job in the role that he's been asked to play. Mekhi Blackmon has made a couple of mistakes tripping over his own feet in 1 week, right? And Trey Tucker gets loose in the Rams. As he goes to turn, his foot hits the lower shin ankle area of Tutu Atwell, and he falls, and Tutu Atwell scores a touchdown. So there have been mistakes. But I think, for the most part, I think Mekhi Blackmon has done a good job, and I think he'll continue, to continue to get experience and continue to get more comfortable. And so I'm fine rolling with Mekhi Blackmon there. Like, it's not this high-end name that everybody knows and that, it's not like we have a shutdown cornerback too right now, but like the play that he made, and it was a good play call by Gus. That is when he got the interception, that's a cover two trap play where he was never going to follow the wide receiver upfield. Once you see the all-22, you see him come off. As soon as he comes off of that, reading Geno Smith and taking the under route, then Cam Bynum is gunning toward that wide receiver. If Geno wanted to try to throw it upfield, by the time Cam Bynum gets there, he probably gets there and is able to get an interception or at least make the tackle if the receiver gets to catch, whatever the case may be. But it was a great play call, and Mekhi Blackmon did exactly what he was supposed to do. And he read it so well that he was just sitting there waiting for the throw to come, and he robbed it from the receiver. Right, and almost had a pick six. Unfortunately, stepped out of bounds, but got to the 6-yard line. So I think Mekhi Blackmon is a fine cornerback too. On the other side of Charvarius Ward, he's going to be tested a lot, so it's not going to be perfect. Right, teams aren't going to always try to throw at Charvarius Ward like Geno Smith was trying to do for a period of that game. But I feel comfortable with the secondary, even with all the injuries. Right, it's getting after the quarterback, getting sacks on the quarterback. We need Latu to get the sacks, right? There are a lot of metrics that point in a direction where Latu is one of the best edge rushers in the league, except for the sack numbers. You need him to get sacks, especially, with DeForest Buckner being double teamed so often. Teams trying to take him out of it so that he can't be so disruptive. We need something on the edge. So I think there's definitely a chance that we go out and make a trade for somebody. Again, we had a video yesterday about the different options. I went through every team and went through different options of different edge rushers. I think it was 6 or 7 different options that we went over, and it was a 20-minute video, 22-minute video, but went through, why this makes sense, why this doesn't make sense, what the numbers look like for the Colts, how it would work for each individual player, and what that would look like. So if you're curious about who we should bring in for the edge, go watch that video that we put out yesterday. But for me, in terms of edge or secondary, I think we should go edge. Right, I'm fine rolling with Mekhi Blackman for the time being. Kenny Moore will be back soon enough. Mike Hilton will be back as a depth piece in the defense soon enough, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there with Kenny and Mike Hilton both on the team. But at some point, Jalen Jones is going to be back as a depth piece as well. So, I feel good about it. I'm fine with the situation that we're in the secondary. We just have to get after the passer more. We can't have times where the quarterback is getting 3.5, 4.5 seconds to throw the ball, because no team is gonna win. No secondary is gonna win when you can't get after the quarterback. That's the most important thing on the defense. So I think that's the option. Of course, I want to know what you guys think now that we have Jermaine Pratt. We've gone through it here. Do you think we should get an edge rusher? Do you think we should get a secondary guy? What do you feel is more important as we go through this conversation? I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking and where you guys are at with this. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And again, go watch that edge rusher video if you're curious about the options and what that might look like for edge rusher options, what the money would look like, and how the future would look with those options. That's 22-minute video, but please take time to look at that one. Let me know what you think about that one as well. And of course, if you enjoy the content, hit the like button, and if you make sure you subscribed with notifications on so you get notified anytime we drop any content on this channel. And as always, appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.